Hey there, and welcome to the UkeStuff channel, and welcome to this review of the Kala KA-PWT. It's their Pacific Walnut Tenor. I bought this secondhand, and it did come already set up and with different custom fluorocarbon strings that almost have a pinkish hue to them. And I really like how it sounds. It's a very bright sounding instrument, which is surprising for a laminate. So what we're going to do in this review is we're going to look at subjective issues with it, then we'll look at objective issues with it, and then we'll come back for a conclusion. So this sells for $139. That's pretty much its going price. There are some dealers who will wrap in accessories like a bag and other things, which will really bring the price up quite a bit. In terms of value, Kala actually set the idea of the value of an instrument. They are now, I think, in their 15th year, might be going in the 16th year altogether. And Kala really did turn the industry around. Again, if you don't know much about Kala, it was started by Mike Upton. He worked for Lana Kai, part of Horner at the time. Now they're part of KHS. But Mike was their ukulele guy. He was the one who really kicked off their models. Many of the models that are still sold today, used and frequently, decent ukuleles. He really brought out a good product. Well, he started asking, why don't I just do this for myself? And he came to Kala using his connections, factories, everything, and started making ukuleles. And really, Kala brought up the quality in the entire industry. So really, when you look at Kala, they set the bar in terms of what is an import ukulele, what you get for your money, and so forth. Now, the problem with that is in 2020, 16 years later, is that they now set the value. I'll use another analogy. When I bought my house here where I live, we paid a certain amount of money, and then property values dropped. When assessment time came, tax assessment time, they came and left our house at the price that it was. And I asked about that. I had to go down to our city hall and ask the assessor and everything and said, hey, why are, what's going on here? My house is not worth that much anymore. I can't sell it for that. And he said, it doesn't matter. You are the last person to buy a house in that neighborhood. You set the bar. That was their explanation. Now, did not make me happy, but that was reality. Now, that's what Kala has done. They set the bar, and their price is now $139 or up, depending on what you get with it from a dealer that would add to it. So here's the issue. There are other products now, other companies now, that are also benefiting from Kala's raising of that bar. No question about it, but they sell a similar, maybe sometimes better, maybe sometimes not, ukulele for less, sometimes significantly less. So suddenly, Kala that set the price becomes more expensive. So ultimately, with the $139 price point, the price is slightly higher than the value. So in other words, you're not getting as much as you could from similar products, sometimes even Kala's own close price range. So for like example, $10 more, you can get into a solid spruce top ukulele with a soprano long neck. That's not that far away for a completely different playing experience. So keep that in mind. So for a laminate ukulele at their price point, the price exceeds the value. The build quality generally is quite good overall. I mean, that's one of the things that Kala really has overall done well. Yeah, you can find exceptions to that. Yeah, if you listen to the name brand dealers, they'll talk about models that they had to send back to Kala. That's going to happen with every brand. I guarantee it. Kamaka, Koloha, Kanalea, the big K brands, yep, they're going to end up having some sent back too. It's going to happen. It's wood. Things happen. People make mistakes. You name it. So with that in mind, Kala does have a good reputation for having pretty high quality overall, especially by the time it gets to the consumer. And there are no complaints here. It's really well put together. And again, I'm at least the second owner on this model. With a Kala, there's really no way to tell how old it is. The other thing I like to do is take a look at what's happening on the inside. So let's take a look at the internal Uke Cam for the KA-PWT. Let's take a look at the Kala KA-PWT ukulele on the inside. First of all, we'll go all the way to the back and take a look at what's going on back here. There's the tail block, quite a bit of that clear glue overlapped. And then looking up at the top there a little bit, you can see the notch kerfing. There's the first vertical brace, and then the second vertical brace, and then right here is the bridge. We'll pull back here in a second and take a better look at that. All right, here's sort of a more distant view. The bridge on this instrument is not screwed in. There are no screws on the bridge, but you can see the bridge plate is supported all the way between those two other supports. You can see kind of a weird circle on the tail block as if it was clamped down, and that's where the pressure of the clamps were. All right, just looking around on the sides here, nothing out of the ordinary. You can see that brace on the bottom there. And then if I pull back here a little bit, you can even see the brace right, that big white part right on top is the brace right underneath the sound hole. Now let's take a look at the top part, or the top bout of the ukulele on the inside. All right, taking a look on the inside from this direction, there's your neck block right there. There's your notch kerfing on the sides. There's your top brace right there, the one right above the sound hole. And there it is on the other side. You can see a little bit of glue, not a big deal. It's a pretty standard build on the Kala here. So that is our look at the inside of the Kala KA-PWT ukulele. All right, so thanks for joining me for that little walk through the inside of the ukulele. As you can see, pretty well put together. Again, it's what you see in all of them now. So Kala really did impact the quality standards, and everybody benefits as a result of that. That's the nature of advancement. Now, in terms of appearance, the big question is, do you like walnut? Now, that's a tough answer for me. I am not a big fan of that walnut print. You might love it. And if so, that's great. I didn't buy this one to keep. I bought this one to review it, and I'll tell you, hopefully I'll remember at the end of this review where that one's going. But let me show you a couple other instruments. I have an Erin walnut that I don't really love either. Another laminate walnut instrument. However, I have a Bonanza that is black walnut, and it's solid wood, and I love that. Now, yeah, there is a big difference between laminate and solid wood, but it also can depend on how you finish it and other things. So I'm not a big fan of the black walnut look. I will not dock this review or my score as a result of not liking particularly the appearance of that wood. Now, that all said, let's take a look at some other things in this instrument. You do have a walnut fretboard. It gets a little lost, obviously, in the walnut instrument, but you have a solid walnut versus laminate. The black binding is cool, and it's on the top and bottom. There is no purfling on it. You have notch kerfing on the inside, but no purfling on it. No rosette on the sound hole. You have a matching headstock in the same deal. You have closed gear tuners, and you do have side markers. So overall, I mean, it's not unattractive. It's an attractive ukulele. Overall, it's pretty plain. Its selling point are for the people that like the walnut print. And if you do, it's out there for you to buy right now. Now, let's talk about availability. You can buy one anywhere you want right now. You can get them online, you can get them at Amazon, you can get them from Kala directly, or you can use your local dealer. Quite honestly, you might even want to consider an ukulele specialist shop, because one of the caveats with Kala's is that because they are the world's probably largest ukulele company, at least in the Western Hemisphere for sure, Kala's a pretty big company, and they get lots and lots of ukuleles a year. And they are not set up at the factory. They're not set up at their distribution point. They check them, but they don't set them up. So if you want one that's set up, either you have to do that yourself, or you have to order from a vendor that will set them up. And right now, the only person I know for sure that's going to carry, for example, like this model, or could get it for you, would probably be the Uke Republic. Maybe Elderly Music, maybe Aloha City in Illinois. But those are the three that I think at best could get this one for you and send it to you set up as part of that purchase. Now let's talk about playability. overall, it is absolutely playable for me. Now, please understand, I play concerts most of the time. I also play sopranos a lot. I also like sopranino. And then, of course, I do have baritones and tenors and even an ukulele bass as well. So I have them all and I play them all. But my natural comfort point is concert. This one is, other than the space between the frets going this way, this one is set up like most sopranos and most concerts with a 35 millimeter nut with pretty general spacing and a pretty general shaped neck. So as a result, for me, it's not a problem to play at all. There are a lot of people that say, you need to get a tenor so you have more space. Well, realistically, this space doesn't help you unless you're playing really high, as much as sometimes this space, the nut width, helps you. So with a 35 millimeter nut here, people that purposely go up to this instrument instead of perhaps the PWC, the concert version of this, they're really not going to get much added benefit in terms of space. They might get a little extra volume from the instrument, but they're not going to get much extra space. So that's something to keep in mind. Now let's talk sound quality. I like it, but if you've been watching these reviews, you know that my ear likes ringy ukuleles. I like that. It doesn't mean that I don't like an instrument that's balanced, but when an instrument is really heavy without much sparkle, that I don't like. People have different ears and they hear different things. But when I play, for example, the C chord, I hear a lot of sustain, in particular on the G up here, if I can find it. Way up there is where I'm hearing the sustain and the harmonics. The sustain is okay. It's just fine. It's not super. The tone is still a laminate tone. It's not out of this world great. And remember that these are not the stock strings that come with it. So this one already has the benefit of being helped by a different quality of string that's going to bring out a different quality of the sound. So it's got decent volume. It's brighter overall, average sustain. I have no complaints here. That's absolutely passable, likable as an ukulele. Some people might like a little more depth presence in the sound, especially with such a larger body of an instrument. Now, one of the things that's important for me is that you don't just take my word for it, and I try to give you some actual data to go with it. So I have been using the app Tonal Energy Tuner to take a look at the harmonic energy series that occurs when I play a chord, in particular always the C chord or the G chord on baritone. So let's take a listen and see what happens. I'm going to play the chord. You'll see the initial attack and where those register, and then where things are sustained. Here we go. Again. So in summary of what we just saw there, you see the entire spectrum lit up, you see where the ringing occurs in the middle, and then of course your foundational frequencies there, your primary root frequencies are always going to be there and present, but it does have kind of a nice combination, again with that one particular G ringing out in the harmonic overtones that appear at the instrument. So overall, good tone, especially with these strings. I like it. Again, you may not if you like a darker, deeper instrument. All right, let's talk details about the instrument, actual data. It's a tenor instrument. It is 17 inches from nut to saddle. It has 18 frets, it has side position markers, and it's your traditional double bout ukulele. The soundboard, back and sides are made of laminate Pacific walnut. The fretboard is made of walnut, as is the bridge, and it's a traditional tie bar bridge. The fretboard is not radiused, and the nut and saddle are made out of that new bone that Kala likes to use. The saddle is not compensated, it's just a flat saddle. The finish is sort of a flat satin finish. It's not glossy in any way. Sometimes satin leads to a little more of a shine. Nope, it's kind of a flat satin finish. The overall length is 25.875 inches from tip to tail, and it weighs 1 pound, 5.4 ounces. It has closed gear tuners, which are kind of nice. It used to be an upgrade, but a lot of ukuleles share them today. This one, when we talk about action, you can't take it to heart because it's been set up. The first fret is actually at 0.25 millimeters, which is really low, and the 12th fret is at 2 millimeters, so it's super low. The nut width is 35.10 millimeters, and here's where kind of the negative of the instrument, if there's really anything negative to say about it, is the spacing is really quite narrow at the first fret, 8.76 millimeters between the strings, with only 28.73 millimeters G to A. That is a standard layout for soprano in concert with 35 millimeter nut too. So if you're looking for a wider nut, this is not the instrument for you. The depth at the third fret is 20.46 millimeters, which is starting to get a little more narrow. But it's still a pretty standard C shape as you get with an import ukulele, which is not a problem. It's just something that you would expect. All right, let's summarize what we've seen here. This is sort of typical Kala laminate, more than your standard entry-level KAT model. This would be the next step up. Something laminate, something more pretty with a few more features and things to look at. With most Kala models, again, expect a setup. That's something that you would either have to do yourself or to order an instrument from someone that will do it, or take it to a luthier that will do it. The sound is actually a little brighter than you would expect rather than darker, especially with the larger body. And remember, this one has different fluorocarbon strings on it. Overall, it's a really good ukulele. No complaints. I would recommend it to you. But do be advised that there are other instruments, even in Kala's own line, sometimes just for a few more dollars, that will get you into a solid top. Maybe not in the tenor scale, but close. And there are a bunch of competitors with laminate ukuleles, some with really cool patterns that are right at this price point or even lower, that even come with some accessories. If you buy one of these with accessories, it's not from Kala directly, it's from a dealer that just bunches everything together. So just be advised that unless you really love the Walnut, there are plenty of other instruments at this price point that will sound just as good, if not better, or even steps up at that price point. What would I rate it? I rate ukuleles from 1 to 5. So this one, solid 4. And with all my ratings, if you go up or down a half ukulele, you're within my tolerance range. So ultimately, it's a good ukulele. If you own this, you have nothing at all to be ashamed of. It's a great little ukulele. But again, I think there are some better instruments either just above or below the price point, making this one kind of more expensive than it needs to be. And that's really where it gets hurt more than anything else in terms of this review. So thanks for watching the review. I hope you're having a great day, and I will be back soon with some more Uke stuff for you.